footage that
creepy case. What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to my channel. How you guys doing? Hopefully you guys are doing alright, man. If you guys are brand new to the channel, you guys don't know what we do. We break down scary and creepy videos, man, on the net, on the web, from YouTube videos to TikTok videos, IG reels, Facebook, anything weird, usual and unexplained, you can find right here on this channel. Just want to thank my supporters, man, who's tapping into the channel, subscribing, hitting that post notification bell, hitting that like button, man. I really appreciate the support. You guys are pushing us in the algorithm. That's how we can grow and we can connect to more new people. So continue to do that, man. We're just gonna keep going up. Found this video for you guys today. Let's do what we do best, seekers. Let's seek the truth.
Story keeps me up at night, and it's a real one.
Okay.
So in the early 90s, a woman named Jerry went to a psychotherapist named John Mack because she was having recurring nightmares of UFOs. Then one night, her 2-year-old son started screaming in terror in his room. She ran in to check on him, and he claimed that owl monsters were touching his legs. And when she asked where the owl monsters were now, he claimed that they were in a boat in the sky. So Jerry starts thinking that maybe her family is being visited by aliens. She kind of brushed it off at first, but then one night her daughter has this experience. She was practicing reading for school, and she had to time herself in 10-minute intervals and see how far she could read. So she's timing herself for 10 minutes, marking how far she read. Timing herself for 10 minutes, marking. Timing herself for 10 minutes, and then she looks up and an hour has gone by.
Ooh.
There's 50 minutes of time she can't account for, which apparently is kind of common in people who have been visited by aliens. I talk more about this story and other alien encounters on my podcast this week. And we hear a story from someone whose grandfather was visited by aliens in the 60s.
You believe in aliens? Is it legit?
Whatever you do not feel sorry for this woman. This woman's name is Yoselin Ortega, and she was a nanny. She had been working for her current employer for 2 years, and she was not very happy. So she planned something that most of us can't even imagine. She was babysitting these 2 kids aged 2 and 6, and because she was so angry at their mother, she ended both their lives. And after she did, she put both their lifeless bodies into a bathtub and waited for the mother to come back home. And of course, when she did, the mother was absolutely floored and shocked as to what had happened. The nanny tried to kill herself by stabbing herself in the neck. You can actually see the wound right there, but she survived her injuries. During court, she said the reason she did what she did is because she wanted to see the mother's reaction to her slain kids. The mother, Marina Krim, had very little to say on that day because obviously she was so upset, and the nanny was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
It's a dark case, man. People have to be better.
Since we're all talking about the World Cup, let's talk about how this soccer player was murdered after he lost the game. On June 22nd, 1994, Andres Escobar, who was the captain of Colombia's soccer team, was playing against the US and scored in his own net during the World Cup. Colombia ended up losing the game 2-1 and was eliminated. 10 days later, Andres was confronted by a group of men outside a club in the city of Medellin. These men began harassing Andres and making fun of him for shooting in his own net, and even though he tried to reason with them, they shot him 6 times. The next day, police arrested Humberto Castro Munoz, who was associated with powerful criminals and drug traffickers. It's been said that the criminals that Humberto was working with were betting a lot of money on Colombia to win, and when they lost because of Andres' mistake, then they ordered Humberto to murder him. Humberto was sentenced to 43 years in prison, but only served 11 years before being released for good behavior. More than 120,000 people attended Andres' funeral, and Colombia created a statue of him in 2002.
That's actually insane, man. People get mad because they betting on sports and the outcome is not what they thought it would be, so they take it out on the player. I've seen that a couple of times with like NBA players, man. They would be going back and forth with people in the stands. They be like, I'm betting money on you, man. You better make the shot. Like, how are they supposed to know? You can't blame the player, man. Money's involved. People do crazy things, as we seen here.
Born addicted to crack cocaine, little Elisa Izquierdo didn't stand a chance with a mother like hers. Elisa was born in 1989 in Brooklyn, New York, to parents Awilda Lopez and Gustavo Izquierdo. Throughout her pregnancy with Elisa, Awilda was abusing crack cocaine, meaning when Elisa was born, she actually had to be weaned off the drugs as she was addicted. Gustavo ended his relationship with Awilda when he realized what she was doing, and he vowed to get custody of Elisa. She actually had 2 children from a previous relationship that she lost custody of due to her drug abuse, and they were being raised by family members. When Elisa was born, Gustavo actually managed to win custody, and his world revolved around his daughter. He started taking parenting classes, and he enrolled Elisa in a preschool in 1990. Unfortunately, his health started to decline and he could no longer afford the tuition fees. But she was a promising student, and the principal of the school decided to introduce her to one of the patrons of the school. This was Prince Michael of Greece, and he actually offered to pay for Elisa's tuition fees right up until 12th grade. During her first year of preschool, it came to Gustavo's attention that Awilda had actually beaten her addiction, secured permanent accommodation, got married and become pregnant with her 4th child. She'd also regained custody of her 2 older children. When Elisa was just 2, Awilda applied for visitation rights, and she won, meaning that Elisa would go and stay with her unsupervised every other weekend. Shortly after these visits started, Gustavo and also teachers at Elisa's school started to notice bruises. She also began bedwetting and started having regular nightmares. She also told her father at one point that her mother had beaten her and locked her in a closet. Gustavo tried to get Awilda's visitation rights revoked, but it was denied, saying that as long as she didn't beat her daughter, the visitation could continue. In 1993, Gustavo decided to come up with a plan to get Elisa away from her mother permanently. He was from Cuba and still had family there, so he decided to buy tickets for him and Elisa and take her where her mother couldn't hurt her anymore. The tickets were booked for May 26, 1994, but shortly before that, Gustavo started to experience breathing difficulties. He was admitted to hospital and diagnosed with lung cancer. He then sadly died on the exact day he planned to take Elisa to Cuba. On hearing about Gustavo's death, Awilda decided to apply for full custody of her daughter. Due to the previous abuse of Elisa, there were multiple objections to the court from Gustavo's family and also Prince Michael of Greece. Despite that, Awilda was awarded full custody of Elisa.
They was fighting, man, and look what happened.
I'm gonna try this one more time. TikTok, you suppress the video, I don't even care no more. So Aubrey, the woman that was the cause of the Nashville school shooting, people are defending her because they don't like that people are using the wrong pronouns to identify them. Basically, Audrey was a woman transitioning to become a man. Because of this, some people are calling Audrey a woman, even though Audrey identified as a man now. So the community is upset at this, stating that no matter what heinous crime Audrey did, there's no reason to be calling them the wrong pronoun. I wish I could be making this up, but I promise you, in any video you see reporting this, they are saying this. Imagine defending a child murderer. You get no respect when you go on an active hunt to murder innocent children and people because you did not like a Christian school. Anybody defending this woman needs to be put in jail.
Info
It's
drop.
another rainy day in the South. Go out and be someone's sunshine today.
This woman is a prime example of how easily you can deceive people on your social media.
Okay.
This is Farron Jill Hudson, 35 years old, from Alabama. And the story starts in 2021 when her husband was arrested on 5 counts of possessing obscene material with a child under the age of 17. Later that year, he was rearrested for 76 counts of possession of child porn. Now, at the time, he claimed the police had planted these images on his phone, these videos, and there was an investigation undertaken. But when police investigated James's phone, they found evidence that linked his wife, Jill, to these crimes. Yes, Jill, the happy-go-lucky TikToker talking about God and sunshine. So after this new evidence came to light, new charges were added and Jill was arrested. And these new charges included incest, essay of a child, and production of obscene materials with a child under the age of 17. So during her interrogation, after she was arrested, Jill was shown a still image from one of these child porn videos that she allegedly helped to produce. And she confirmed to detectives and investigators that indeed it was her and another child in that video. Apparently, Jill confirmed that it was her in the video performing an obscene act with a child. But after she was arrested, Jill was stupid enough to call a family member, and on the phone call from jail, she asked her family member to go check her devices and destroy evidence.
What?
So obviously authorities were listening into that phone call. They were able to get search warrants for all of her other electronics, and they're undergoing a search of her property right now. It's just wild. You wouldn't imagine that that woman who posted that video would be accused of doing such horrific things with children. And it just goes to show that these predators are everywhere, so we have to stay vigilant and keep our children safe. That should be our #1 priority in this nation.
Man, don't believe anything you guys see in this media, bro. Like you said.
On what happened to 14-year-old Norma Lee's death and how she was killed after getting into a fight with her school bully. So yeah, according to this friend, even after her death, Norma continued to get bullied and taunted. The fact that classmates showed up to her funeral to make fun of her is wild. As for Asada, the one who killed Norma, she showed absolutely no sign of remorse. She never called the family to offer her condolences. She never took accountability for anything. In fact, after Norma died, she wasn't immediately arrested. It wasn't until the case started to go viral on social media that the investigators finally took the case seriously. Fired the director of the school, and they immediately began searching for Asada. And on March 18th, 2023, Asada was finally arrested. Now, since she is only 14 years old, she was sent to this correctional facility in Mexico that's specifically for minors. The place is called the Quinta del Bosque Correctional Facility, and at this facility, you go to workshops, you go to classes, you go to therapy, you basically do activities to try to become a better person. The maximum sentence that you can have at this facility is 5 years. Unfair that Asada took someone's life. She literally killed Norma. She hit her on the head with a rock, and all she might get is just 5 years at a correctional facility. A facility where you go to therapy and you go to workshops and you do like group activities. It just doesn't seem fair to a lot of people. She felt grown enough to taunt Norma, to bully her, to assault her, and to fight her, then she should be grown enough to be charged as an adult. The fact that she was acting all cocky and proud in front of Alma and told her, yeah, I beat up your sister, yeah, I broke her nose, just shows the kind of person that Asada truly is. She showed absolutely no remorse, and the family feels that this is not justice. The family is happy that the director of the school was fired, but they also feel like the professors and the other classmates need to face some consequences. The professors knew about the bullying, but they didn't do anything to protect Norma. Family also feels like all the classmates that stood there and watched this happen should be held accountable. They should either get suspended or be expelled from school because they took part in the bullying. It's so heartbreaking that Norma tried to get help, but she didn't receive it. It's really sad that the last few months of her life she was filled with so much sadness, with so much heartbreak, and with so much disappointment. She did not deserve this, and we need to do better. Something needs to change, and I hope that everyone that needs to be held accountable for Norma's death is held accountable. My thoughts and prayers go out to her family. I am so sorry that this happened to her, and it's just so heartbreaking because she was just a couple of weeks away from her 15th birthday. Her birthday is on April 25th, and she was so excited to be turning 15 years old. It's just so unfortunate that she never got to make it and that her life was taken from her. Hope that Norma truly gets justice.
These kids be too young doing things like this. It doesn't even make sense anymore.
Teenagers' reaction to getting a life sentence.
That there is only one appropriate sentence in this case. Mr. Fucci, if you and your attorneys would please rise. Counsel, is there any legal reason why this court cannot impose sentence at this time? Mr. Fucci, having entered a plea of guilty to the crime of first-degree murder, I adjudicate you guilty of the premeditated first-degree murder of Tristan Bailey. I sentence you to life in prison. Because of your age, you are eligible for review of the sentence in 25 years.
He didn't even care. He just had a straight face. Is that a dog or a skinwalker? What the hell was that?
Imagine growing up knowing that you were adopted, and 60 years later, when you take an ancestry DNA test, you find out that your birth mom was the victim of one of the most notorious cold cases in American history. Richard Hanchett was born in 1958 in Michigan, and he was immediately given up for adoption by his birth mother. In 2018, Richard, who still lived in Texas, decided to take an ancestry DNA test, and he was immediately matched with relatives from his birth mother's family. He connected with them and even went down to Tennessee to finally meet them.
Ooh.
And that's when Richard learned that his birth mother, Ruth Marie Terry, had been missing since the early 70s. For decades, her family searched for her, but they were unable to find her until 2022.
Ooh.
In October of this year, the FBI and Massachusetts State Police announced that nearly 50 years later, they had finally identified the victim of the oldest unsolved homicide case in Massachusetts, the Lady of the Dunes. And the Lady of the Dunes was identified as Ruth Marie Terry. On July 26, 1974, a little girl was hiking with her family when she came across the body of a mutilated woman. Her hands were missing. Police believe this was in an attempt to get rid of her fingerprints so they couldn't identify her, and her head was nearly severed. Detectives searched motels and rooming houses,
and even reviewed thousands of missing persons cases from Massachusetts. They also used clay models to recreate what the Lady of the Dune might have looked like. Her case unfortunately went cold, and some even speculated that she was the victim of the South Boston gangster Whitey Bulger. In 2000, authorities had her body exhumed to extract DNA, but it wasn't until recently that they were able to use genealogy testing to identify her. This is the same technique that was used to identify the Golden State Killer. Now, flash forward to November of this year, authorities announced that they had a new development in the investigation. They had now identified the Lady of the Dunes. Now they had to identify who her killer was. Authorities revealed they were seeking information on a man who was already deceased. This man was known as Guy Rockwell Moldavan. Guy was an antique dealer, and he was actually arrested in 1960 in connection to the disappearance of his former wife and her daughter. Remains believed to be theirs were found in their Seattle home. He only served a suspended sentence, so he actually got released in 1962. Now, court records indicate that Guy and Ruth actually got married in Reno, Nevada in February of 1974, just months before she was killed. Now that they have her identity, this case is being treated as a homicide investigation by the Massachusetts State Police and FBI. The public is actually being asked to review Terry's Seeking Information poster. This includes newly released photos and a little bit more information. This case is still ongoing.
Dark web footage that
creepy case. Was that a different person? I was like, you saw that when she was like, she kissed the mask and it was a completely different person standing there. I don't know what the hell was that. We're gonna have to check that out. Follow up on that one. What is that? I don't know what the hell that was.
This is what happened to 4-year-old Luz Gonzalez and how she was killed while her mom tied her shoes. The family's originally from Mexico, but at the time Luz lived in Brooklyn, New York with her mother Reina. And she was just honestly the cutest little 4-year-old girl. She was just absolutely adorable and just so nice and kind to everyone. On Sunday, June 24th, 2018, Luz and her mother were walking outside of this laundromat called the Clean City Laundromat in New York. They were walking along the sidewalk, but as you can see, this whole parking lot is just a mess. There is no division between the parking lot and the sidewalk, so if someone reverses from the laundromat, they literally have to drive over the sidewalk. It was just not a safe sidewalk, and Luz was riding her scooter up and down the sidewalk, having fun with her mother following closely behind. Now, as she's riding her scooter, her shoe actually falls off, so Luz gets off the scooter and she goes over to pick up her shoe. Luz tried to put the shoe on herself, but she was 4 years old at this time, so she was struggling to do so, and that's when her mother Reina decided to bend down and help her daughter. So Reina bent down to tie her daughter's shoe, and as you can see, they're still on the sidewalk. They're not in the parking lot, they're not in the middle of the road, like they're literally on the sidewalk, which is meant for pedestrians. But again, this parking lot and this sidewalk were built incorrectly, so in order for someone to back out or get inside the laundromat, they literally have to drive over the sidewalk. So as you can see, Luz and her mother are crouched down on the ground trying to put on her shoe when all of a sudden 38-year-old Jeanette Maria, who is driving this black SUV, starts to back out of the parking lot. Again, Luz and her mother are low on the ground. It's not like Reina is standing up and is super obvious, but at the same time when you're backing out, you should always be aware of your surroundings. So Jeanette backs out of the parking lot, and as you can see, Luz and her mother were right in front of her. As she gets ready to peel out of the parking lot, she runs over 4-year-old Luz and her mother Reina. After she ran them over, Jeanette stopped because she obviously realized that she had hit something. So she stopped the car, she took a little bit of a pause, and then she just continued driving. She just drove off, and she left Luz and Reina alone on the sidewalk. She didn't call the police, she didn't get out of her car to check, what she had hit, nothing. Which is just crazy because her car literally shook after running over 2 people. She obviously was aware that she had hit something, but she didn't care enough to get out and look at what had happened.
Crazy.
Now, people saw all of this go down, so they immediately ran over to Luz and her mother and tried to call for help. There's actually video footage of Reina just sitting on the ground, hugging her daughter, and she just looks like she's in shock. Reina had a really bad injury to her leg, but the injuries to her daughter Luz were much more severe. Police were informed about what had happened, and they actually pulled over the driver, Jeanette Maria, about 4 blocks away from the laundromat. Police informed her that she had just ran over a 4-year-old girl and her mother, and Jeanette was in complete shock. She said she had no idea how this had happened and that she had no idea she had hit someone. She denies everything, and then the police just let her go. Okay, I'm running out of time, more in part 2.
feel like the developers, man, they have to be held accountable for that as well, because you see there was a design flaw and it still stayed there, and that design still stayed there. It's like that soccer ball was so narrow that they had to back over it in order to get out. Those developers, man, gotta be held accountable, bro. Like I said, it's always in the details, man. It's crazy how a design flaw, look what happened over just a design flaw.
This is what happened to 14-year-old Norma Lisbeth and how she was killed after getting into a fight with her school bully. Norma Lisbeth Ramos was a 14-year-old girl that lived in Teotihuacan, Mexico. She was the youngest of three. She had an older sister named Alma and an older brother named Omar. Now, we don't really know much about Norma, but her friends and family say that she used to be filled with so much happiness and life. She wanted to grow up, she wanted to become a nurse and help others. However, as Norma started to grow up, that light and happiness once inside of her started to quickly fade. This is because Norma was being bullied at school. Some of her friends have come forward and said that the bullying started all the way in elementary school. People would make fun of her skin color, they would call her morenita, they would make fun of the fact that she had curly hair. The kids were brutal to her, and most of the aggression came from another student named Asara Eileen. It seemed like Asara was obsessed with bullying and tormenting Norma. She would make fun of Norma's skin color, she would make fun of the fact that Norma's family didn't have a lot of money. She would even tell the other students, if you try to be nice to Norma, if you try to talk to her, if you try to be her friend, we're also going to bully you. Asara would hype up the other students, and the minute that Norma would step foot onto campus, the bullying would immediately begin. She would walk into a classroom and people would actually throw things at her. The few friends that Norma had came forward and told reporters that a couple of the classmates had actually threatened to physically assault Norma. One day, Norma went to the school bathroom and a couple of her classmates walked in and they tried to beat her up. Norma tried to put an end to it, and the classmates told her, if you snitch on us, then we will assault you. It seemed like the whole school was against her, so Norma actually did speak up and she told her professors about what was going on. She told them about the taunting, about the bullying, about the threats, but nothing was done about it. In fact, one of her teachers told her, girls will be girls. Basically tried to make it seem that this is what teenage girls do, that they bully each other, that they make fun of each other, and that that's just how things are. However, it wasn't just girls that were bullying Norma, it was the boys in the class as well. Literally everybody would taunt her, and on February 20th, 2023, Norma's main bully, Asara, confronted her and told her that the next day, on February 21st, she wanted to meet her outside of the school to get into a physical fight. She told Norma that she better show up. Of course, Norma was scared, so she tried to tell the director of the school about the fight, but the director did not listen to her. The director told her, can you give me a moment? I'm really busy. And she turned around and ignored Norma. Norma just didn't know what to do. She had already told the professors about the bullying. She had told the director of the school, but no one cared. So she felt like the only option she had was to show up to the fight the next day and defend herself. The next day, on February 21st, 2023, the fight happened. There's footage of this fight, and it's very intense. Asara is the one wearing the skirt, and she just went absolutely crazy on Norma. At one point, she grabbed a stone, and she started hitting Norma on the head with the stone. What's crazy is that there was a group of students just standing there watching this and cheering on the fight. At one point, Norma starts bleeding, and the classmates actually laugh at her. Okay, more of her too.
Nobody stopped that, man, and she was trying to go anywhere and everywhere to get help, and look what happened. Nobody helped. She followed all the steps, and nobody cared enough to pay attention to her.
I am Nanny Doss. I was known as the Giggling Granny because I seemed harmless and sweet, but the truth is, I was a serial killer. I was responsible for the deaths of 4 of my husbands, 2 of my children, my mother, my sister, and my 2 grandsons. I used various methods to kill them, such as poisoning them with arsenic, rat poison, or sometimes even boiling water. My first husband, Charlie Braggs, died after just a few months of marriage. I poisoned him with rat poison, as I had grown tired of his abusive behavior. I then went on to marry and kill 3 more husbands, Robert Harrelson, Richard L. Morton, and Samuel Doss. With each of these men, I used a different method of poisoning. In addition to my husbands, I also killed my 2 middle daughters, Melvina and Florine. I gave them a concoction of rat poison and crushed glass, claiming it was medicine to make them feel better. They died in agony. I also killed my mother, Louisa, with arsenic.
To the channel, how you guys doing? Hopefully you guys are doing alright, man. If you guys are brand new to the channel, you guys don't know what we do. We break down scary and creepy videos, man, on the net, on the web, from YouTube videos to TikTok videos, IG reels, Facebook, anything weird, usual, and unexplained you can find right here on this channel. Just want to thank the the supporters, man, who's tapping into the channel, subscribing, hitting that post notification bell, man. That's really helping us push us in the algorithm. So I really appreciate the support. Like I said, we're just trying to grow, so you guys need to hit that like button, man. We could just take off. Found this video for you guys today, man. Let's do what we do best. Let's seek the truth.
It's about history that school probably didn't teach you.
All right.
Part 13. In ancient Egypt, there was a parasite in Egyptian rivers that would cause horrifying pee-pee bleeding. And this was considered a rite of passage for boys entering into manhood.
What?
Catherine the Great had a room filled with erotic furniture that she commissioned personally. We're talking BJs carved into chairs, an end table with giant peepees holding up a marble countertop, and other unspeakable things that I cannot say on TikTok.
Weird.
Needless to say, homegirl had taste. 12-year-old Pocahontas used to entertain white colonists with nude cartwheels. In 1694, Admiral Edward Russell threw an 8-day-long bender with the world's largest cocktail and over 6,000 guests. He poured hundreds of gallons of liquor into an enormous fountain and hired men to paddle around in boats, scoop it up, and serve it to the guests.
What the?
And 8 days later, the fountain was completely dry.
Ooh. That guys on any new fact seekers? I did.
This 24-year-old teacher was caught being inappropriate with her 5th grade student. This is 24-year-old Madison Bergman from Wisconsin. The 11-year-old boy's mother had heard him on a phone call with his 24-year-old teacher and took his phone away.
4K.
She discovered text messages between the two, and Madison would text him stuff like, "I really wanted to make out with you today." These texts were then printed out and taken to the school. Authorities were notified and they immediately opened up an investigation. The cops searched Madison's backpack and they had found a folder with the 11-year-old boy's name on it. Inside of that folder, they had found several handwritten letters. Written on these notes, Madison is telling the boy that she loves him, she wants to kiss him, he turns her on, and she is obsessed with him. The 11-year-old boy ends up talking to police and he states that Madison would move his desk next to hers so that she could touch him without other students noticing. It was pretty often that Madison would make the boys stay behind during lunch, and a lot of the students thought he was always in trouble, but that was not the case. 11-year-old claimed that Madison had kissed him several times in that classroom, either after school or when everyone was at lunch. The 11-year-old's family had actually become friends with Madison, and they even went on a ski trip to a nearby resort. And that specific weekend is when Madison got the 11-year-old boy's number. Get this, Madison was actually engaged, but she will no longer be walking down that aisle. Madison has disabled her social media and is not allowed on school property or school events. Madison is currently free on a $25,000 bond.
Facts that will mess...
You gotta be careful who you let around, seekers, man. Look what happened. They said the parents were friends with theirs on that ski trip. They bonded, and that's how she got the 11-year-old's number. You never know somebody's intentions.
With your perception of time. Anne Frank and Martin Luther King would be the same age if they were alive today. Queen Elizabeth and Marilyn Monroe were both the same age as well. Here they are when they were both 30 years old meeting each other. George Washington died 25 years before the first dinosaur fossil was found. George Washington did not know about the existence of dinosaurs. Woolly mammoths were still walking around the earth 1,000 years after the pyramids were built. Also, Cleopatra was alive closer in time to the moon landings than the building of the Great Pyramid. NASA was already exploring space by the time scientists could agree on how plate tectonics worked. Follow for more.
Were those some cap in those facts? I don't
Do
know.
these images make you uncomfortable? If they do, this is a concept called uncanny valley, where people have a strange, uneasy feeling when they look at robots that are too lifelike, or anything that looks or acts human, but there's something off about them. This concept was introduced in the 70s by a professor at the Tokyo Institute of Technology named Masahiro Mori. He coined the term uncanny valley to describe his observation that as robots appear more human-like, they become more appealing, but only to a certain point. Let me know in the comments if you experience this.
I don't think I have it, but that's scary though. They look way too human-like for me. That's getting way too advanced for my days, man.
These are 8 horrifying facts that will probably keep you up at night. In ancient Rome, soldiers used to drink fresh, warm blood to cure epilepsy.
There are antidepressants that eliminate someone's ability to feel love and compassion. The Exorcist movie resulted in many of its cast dying, including 2 actors whose characters died in the movie. In 2017, an asteroid named AG-13 passed by our home planet with less than the distance of the moon. Scientists saw it coming only 2 days before it could have hit Earth. One of the most haunted dolls is Robert. It belonged to a child named Eugene in 1904. The 2 most dangerous books are called Shams al-Ma'arif and Al-Ghazali. They carry rituals for summoning demons. In ancient England, people used tops of hollowed human skulls to drink and eat. At Harvard University, there's a book bound in human skin, like for part 6.
Creepy facts about our world. The Devil's Bible exists and is said to be a contract between a 13th century monk and Satan. Also known as the Codex Gigas, is the largest Latin manuscript known to the world and contains a full-page portrait of Satan. Ancient Romans believed that drinking blood would let them absorb power. During gladiator games at the Colosseum, members of the audience would rush into the field to ravage the blood off of fallen gladiators. The Museum of the Souls of Purgatory in Rome, Italy, displays documents signed by haunted souls in purgatory. The small museum displays several documents and photos with handprints that they claim to be from the dead or souls stuck in purgatory. Your bed might have up to 10 million dust mites in it right now. Dust mites love warm beddings and skin cells, which makes your bed an ideal home for them. They're microscopic and multiply by the tens of thousands.
What the
3 dark psychology facts.
We got dust mites on us?
There's an extremely high probability that a stranger has looked at you and thought about killing you without you even knowing it. The person you first look at when you enter a room is the person you feel most threatened by. When you spend 10 minutes in front of the mirror in a dimly lit room staring at yourself, your mind gets bored and starts scaring you by making you see a monster with your face combination.
Really? Staring at yourself in the mirror, man, you're gonna see a damn monster? What the? I've never heard of that before. I did it a couple of times too, but I never seen a monster. Has that happened to you guys? I ain't seen anything.
Videos on the internet.
What the fuck? Ooh. Definitely blinking.
Bone-chilling facts you wish you never knew, part 9. You feel like falling when sleeping because your heart rate drops nearly to 0 and your brain sends an electric shock throughout your body to make sure that you are still alive. It's actually pretty easy to create false memories. Your mind can make up something that never happened or didn't happen how you remember. At any moment, a nearby star could become a gamma-ray burster and a jet of radiation could hit Earth and vaporize us immediately. And it's impossible to see it coming.
But the thing on what he said about the mind, it's a powerful thing.
Scariest road signs. Don't look at this TikTok if you're alone. In Davao, Philippines, you can find this strange and creepy road sign. It says, waving children, please wave back.
What?
Basically, it means that there are children coming out to wave at tourists, and that you should wave back if I've understood correctly.
Okay.
Some people on forums such as Reddit and Quora claim they've been there and seen the sign. Most of them say they then spotted children coming out of the woods to wave at them and look at them in a very strange way. The group of kids would have been trying to keep up with all the cars passing by. But what's even creepier now is that a local policeman has spoken out on the subject and said there are no schools or houses in the vicinity. But then where do these kids come from?
Yeah.
And what's their purpose? So I don't know the story behind this sign, but if you look closely it says don't be here after dark. Personally, if I'd come across that sign, I'd have freaked out. On this one, it says your GPS is wrong. Go back. Does this remind you of a horror movie by any chance?
There is no way in 1,000 years you'd be able to guess what's happening in this photo. Yes, it does look like the apartment of a former frat boy who can't decorate, but it's actually a still from the most evil reality television show to ever exist.
Whoa.
Where this man was kept in this apartment naked with no food for 15 months.
What the?
17 million people in Japan tuned in. It's also the subject of tonight's episode, so let's dive in. So this is called Sweepstakes Life, and it was a show in Japan in the 90s.
All right.
To cast the show, a group of men were told to come to a casting office with no other information. A box with a question mark was then wheeled into the room, and each of the men had to pull an envelope. This guy, Nasubi, is the guy that gets the winning slip, and this is where his nightmare begins. He was immediately blindfolded and thrown in the back of a car, where he was brought to this apartment and told to strip. This is also where he's told that anything he needs to survive needs to be won in sweepstakes that are in those magazines, meaning he couldn't eat anything until he won it, which didn't happen for 2 weeks.
Damn.
He wouldn't be let out of the apartment until he won 1 million yen worth of prizes, and he had no idea it would take him over a year to do so. I'm gonna have to do another part to this story, but check out tonight's episode for more.
Don't ever read this poem.
That's insane.
This is a cursed poem called Dominus Hell, and you should never read it. There is a warning that if you read this poem out loud, tragic things will happen. So here you can see the poem. A lot of people have read it, and a lot of people say that nothing happens. But others have disappeared mysteriously after reading it. What do you think? Is it real or not?
What do you think, Seekers? I ain't reading that damn poem. Hell no.
Inhumans Part 2 because someone on Instagram said I couldn't. Having an allergic reaction means your body tries so hard to protect you that it nearly kills you. You can develop allergies as an adult out of nowhere, which means you can eat 1,000 apples and at 1,001st can put you in a news clip. 7% of all the humans to ever be alive in the history of mankind are alive right now. Humans technically never evolved to stand up and walk on 2 feet. The spine was meant to be horizontal with us on all fours, but some tryhard decided to flex on 2 feet, which is why you've had back pain ever since you were 14. Humans have one of the most painful and life-threatening births in the world. Because we became intelligent, our heads got bigger, and because we started walking, the pelvis got narrow, which means the birth canal got smaller. Which is why where most animals are only uncomfortable, human women straight up suffer because walking on 2 feet was the biggest mistake we ever made. The appendix either exists to do nothing or to randomly explode and nearly kill you. Because humans are designed to have a high vocal range, we're also more likely to choke to death on food than any other animal. 5,000 people a year choke their way into an obituary. Humans are one of the few animals that can't produce vitamin C, aka that thing we need to live because nature told us to go fuck ourselves. You are a baby, you are the most helpless creature on the planet.
All those damn facts you just throwing at us, man. I know about the appendix thing. That's one. It's kind of scary how it could just like burst out of nowhere, and you won't even be. It's not like no warning or anything. It could just happen at the snap of your fingers. That's actually crazy to think about, Seekers.
However, factories were so focused on making war supplies that only 139 cars were manufactured in America over the course of the war. There are some Native Americans that sided with the Confederates during the Civil War, and some of them even owned slaves.
What the f? That's shocking. Never knew that. The more you know, Seekers, man, the more you know.
A Jewish person can stop being Jewish if they decided to, but a person of color, we can't get rid of color.
Hello, my friend. The Jewish community is an ethno-religious community. It means that they're unified by both a common religious and ethnic background. Unless you're a convert to Judaism, which itself is quite a lengthy and difficult process, you're likely part of one of the major ethnically Jewish communities, whether this be the Ashkenazi, the Mizrahi, perhaps the Ethiopian Jews. And so those people can't just stop being Jewish because it's their ethnicity, right? Some Ashkenazi appear very white, but then there are many others that are noticeably ethnic. Here's something rather interesting. The modern form of rhinoplasty, so the nose job, really developed in Germany. The reason why it became so popular was because the Jewish community used this procedure to erase their ethnic features, so they could reconstruct their face to look more European and survive.
Info dropped on those, Seekers.
If you all of a sudden couldn't blink anymore, here's what would happen. After 1 minute, your eyes produce tears in an attempt to restore lubrication. After 5 minutes, your eyes go completely blurry and start to burn due to the evaporation of water. After 30 minutes, the pain is so excruciating that it feels like you're getting an eyeball tattoo at all times.
Ooh.
After 1 hour, you can't even move your eyes anymore because they are filled with leaking debris. After an hour and 17 minutes, you officially hold the world record for time not blinking. After 3 hours, everything is so blurry that you can't even distinguish shapes.
Whoa.
After 6 hours, you start seeing black dots and lines everywhere, which is the dirt that your eyes cannot expel. After 1 day, you develop a severe fever due to all the infections that are happening in your eyes. After 2 days, all light that goes into your eye causes unbearable pain that you can't even imagine. After 3 days, you have irreversible damage that no surgery can save. After 4 days, you finally fall asleep with your eyes open after having reality-distorting hallucinations. After 5 days, the pain has gone away, but so has your will to live. After about a week, you'll have your last moments of vision before you go completely blind into darkness.
That pain you feel from a sunburn
Insane.
is your skin cells committing suicide before they mutate into cancer. It's completely possible to become allergic to yourself. Your brain is the only thing keeping you from feeling your organs.
These facts, they dropping on us,
If
man.
we are not alone, part 2. These are fossils recently discovered in Egypt, and what they show is terrifying. You can see when the fossils are placed together, they completely dwarf this human. What you're seeing is an ancient Egyptian demon of chaos called Apep.
Hello, my friend. What you're actually showing are whale fossils, discovered in a place in Egypt called Wadi al-Thar, meaning Valley of Whales. Millions of years ago, this place was underwater. And so there's a huge concentration of whale fossils, as well as the fossils of other creatures like sharks and turtles. Fossils in this location started being discovered about 120 years ago.
Okay.
But yeah, not quite an ancient Egyptian demon of chaos.
It was just whales. You debunked that quick.
This Instagram influencer was found mutilated at her boyfriend's home. In July of this year, 21-year-old Augusta Assidian was found killed by her boyfriend of 3 years, Benjamin Best, aka Killaboy. On July 11th, Augusta called her mom to tell her that her and her boyfriend had gotten into an argument. A couple of days passed by and Augusta's mother is unable to get in contact with her or Benjamin, so she contacts her daughter's roommate, and her roommate basically directing her to his home in Lagos, Nigeria. When she arrived at his home, Augusta's car was parked in the front, but the apartment door was locked. Detectives visited the scene and the door had to be forced open. They discovered Augusta's lifeless body with her private parts chopped off, lying in a pool of her own blood. Marks of violence and signs of struggle were detected on her body. Once her body was discovered, Benjamin had confessed to the crimes on his Instagram stories. In a series of Instagram stories, he claimed that he did not mean to kill her, he did not mean to take off her private parts, it was on accident, and he felt really bad for what he had did, and he was going to turn himself in. As the days were passing by, Benjamin still did not turn himself in, and it seemed like the police department went quiet on the case. Augusta's mother broke her silence after the burial, stating that she wanted justice for her daughter since her killer was still walking free. Once Benjamin had found out about this, he started trash-talking Augusta's mom on Instagram stories, stating that she was evil and that if it wasn't for her, Augusta would be alive.
What?
He also claimed that her mom was the reason that they had problems in their relationship, but honestly, I think he was just looking for someone else to blame. On October 20th, Benjamin was finally arrested at a nightclub after changing his name and passport with a new identity.
Try to escape from the consequences, man. You can't do that.
My name is Craig Price. I committed my first murder when I was 13. On July 27, 1987, I broke into a neighbor's home, took a knife from the kitchen, and stabbed 27-year-old Rebecca Spencer 58 times, killing her. 2 years later, on September 1st, 1989, I broke into another neighbor's home in Warwick, Rhode Island. After being discovered, I stabbed 39-year-old mother, Joan Heaton, 57 times, and then her 2 young daughters woke up. I stabbed Heaton's 10-year-old daughter, Jennifer, 62 times, and crushed the skull of 7-year-old Melissa. I was arrested 1 month before my 16th birthday, with police noting that I showed no remorse during my confession. I was tried and convicted as a minor, and was set to be released according to Rhode Island law when I turned 21. I bragged that I would make history when I was released. I've yet to be released, as I committed a series of assaults while in prison, adding to my original sentence. On January 2019, I was sentenced to an additional 25 years after stabbing a fellow inmate while in prison with a homemade knife. I remain the youngest American serial killer in history.
Did Netflix use AI to create fake photos of a murderer? I'd heard of this case before, and watching the documentary last weekend, it seems like Netflix had gotten exclusive photos. What Jennifer Did is a true crime documentary on Netflix about the case of Jennifer Pan. She hired a hitman to kill her parents and hide her double life. Several articles online point out these photos. It seems like she's missing fingers, which is a trademark of AI. And I also just noticed that in this left photo, her top teeth do not line up with the bottom row. It's like one tooth is behind. And these photos did stick out to me while watching the documentary. I was familiar with the case, but I feel like this was the main photo that you'd see. And a lot of sources online seem to just rely on her interrogation photos in this white t-shirt with the braid. But while watching it, I assumed that they had gotten these photos from a friend. Because they did have interviews with friends of Jennifer's as well as the investigators, and I did think the documentary was good overall. But what's the point of this? I mean, looking at it now, it does look very, airbrushed, to say the least. So, at best, I think the photos were very blurry or poor quality, and they just enhanced them, and that's why they have this overall fake look. Or maybe this is just one of the ways that AI is going to change the media we consume. Personally, I do think it's very odd to create AI for true crime, because those two things are just complete opposite ends of the spectrum. But if you look online, there's really not that many photos of Jennifer, but again, Netflix has a lot more resources than I do. I don't know if the story will get big enough to where they have to make a statement on it, but let me know what you guys think in the comments.
Elizabeth I.
Scary times we live in, man. AI is already infiltrating, man, the media. They put that in a documentary. What makes it seem like they won't just stop there and they just continue to do it, man? That's how you blur the facts and things like that. That's how it gets out of hand. If you're changing the facts of a case or something like that, that's where AI, that's where it gets dangerous. That's where they have to kind of put some limitations on it, because you don't want that problem to spread into other parts of the media. It'll just become a nightmare.
Had rotten teeth. It was so bad that if she was in your face talking to you, you'd find yourself drifting in and out of consciousness. They were blackened and rotted because of her love for sugar, and believe it or not, it was said to have caused a speech impediment towards the end of her life because so many teeth had fallen out that people couldn't really understand her when she spoke. These are some other facts about the true appearance of Elizabeth I. Elizabeth contracted smallpox in 1562, which severely damaged her skin. This is what pockmarked skin caused by extreme acne looks like, and this isn't even really that bad. Smallpox, however, would have been infinitely worse, especially for someone who survived it in her time. And to cover up these scars, she used a white lead-based makeup. This intense exposure to lead every single day over the course of decades was harmful and caused skin damage such as outbreaks and possibly lead poisoning over time. She wore wigs, which was common for her time, but also her natural hair had fallen out, and it's believed that lead poisoning contributed to that. So do any paintings exist that depict her as she actually looked? This is a lock of her hair from 1572. You can see that her iconic red is starting to fade into a white. And here's a portrait of her about 20 years later. Clear skin, full head of hair, probably a wig. A lot of portraits of the Queen, in fact I think every single one, was designed to make her look eternally youthful and glorious, especially in the painting that commemorates England's victory over the Spanish Armada, which they defeated in 1588. Quite unexpectedly too. The world thought for sure England was going to be toast when all those Spanish ships showed up, but England won, so they celebrated with a painting. And in this painting, their leader, it looks very young. She does not look like she's close to 60 for a woman of the 16th century. Her skin is clear, her makeup looks great, she's got a full head of hair there. Don't know if the people are supposed to know that, but we do. And her mouth is closed. Lastly, these sculptures of the Queen were made using her death mask as a model. And while I think the death mask is accurate, I think somebody took some liberties to make her look a lot younger and healthier than she actually was. And you can't be mad because we all use filters. Have a great day.
Monday, May 6th, there's been a massive Micah Miller update as an affidavit has come out, as well as disturbing details about what JP forced Micah to do when they were together. So it was revealed that Micah apparently kept a binder of everything that happened to her, and that binder has been sent over to the police. And in a future affidavit, JP apparently apologizes to Micah and admits to everything that she accuses him of. And again, trigger warning, but JP would apparently often force Micah into his truck to go find a homeless man to finish on her. One time they picked up a woman, but that turned out to be a man, but that didn't stop JP from performing acts on him. There was also one time JP relieved himself to a dog, and he also apparently had a blow-up doll of a 4-year-old. This is the affidavit of Micah's sister saying that Micah would often express the violence and abuse against her by JP, and that JP would even have people follow her and keep track of where she went, and that he would often move assets that were in his name, such as his vehicle, changing the deed to their house to the church, transferring interest in crocodile rocks to one of his sons. And apparently while Micah was at the mental health facility, all of the evidence that she gathered against JP about his abused character, his associates that he paid off, were all deleted. They were removed from her phone, her laptop, her vehicle, and her purse, and never recovered.
Ooh.
Micah also apparently said, if I end up with a bullet in my head, it was not by me, it was JP. We're not going to stop fighting for you, Micah, and we're not going to let JP get away with what he did.
She knew, man. She had all that information right now. She knew. All that she said she could find in a binder. Man, but the things people go through, it's actually insane, Seekers. If you guys stay with me to the end of the video, you're true seekers seeking the truth. I greatly appreciate the support, man. Like I said, guys, make sure you guys hit that like button, subscribe, follow me on my social medias, man, so we can stay together, man. I'm trying to build this community. I'm uploading every single day, man, so hopefully you guys appreciate that. You guys gonna catch you in the next one, man. I'm out. Peace, YouTube. What's up, seekers? Welcome back to the channel. How you guys doing? Hopefully you guys are doing all right, man. If you guys are brand new to the channel, you guys don't know what we do. We break down scary and creepy videos on the net, on the web, man. From YouTube videos to TikTok videos, IG videos, Facebook, anything weird, usual, and unexplained, you can find right here on this channel. Just want to thank the supporters, man, who's tapping into the channel, subscribing, hitting that post notification bell, man. Y'all helping us grow the community. I really appreciate that. Let's do what we do best, seekers, man. Let's seek the truth.
Crazy Ways People Have Died, Part 1.
Here we go.
In 2010, a man named Sam Ballard was dared by his drunk friends to eat a slug. And so he did. Little did he know the slug gave him a parasite, which made him paralyzed and sick. He stayed this way for 8 years till 2018, when he was 28. The sickness became too much for him, and he died. Stop just putting stuff in your mouths! Stop!
Yeah, I ain't doing that there, bro.
Blood-curdling facts that you wish you never knew. Part 21. This photo shows an 8-month-old Zhao Bao who was lucky to be alive because his mother stabbed him 90 times after he bit her while she was breastfeeding him. The world's scariest haunted house, McCamey Manor, requires you to sign a 40-page waiver and undergo a physical and mental evaluation.
What the
If you manage to make it through the house, you could win $20,000. But to this day, no one has ever made it through. The little girl who voiced Ducky in The Land Before Time was shot to death by her father, who then committed suicide. Roman Emperor Nero had a boy castrated, dressed him up as a bride, and married him, all because the boy looked similar to his previous dead wife. A 46-year-old man found and attacked a 13-year-old boy because the kid was killing him too many times in a game of Call of Duty.
Oh my god, goodness. Oh, a damn game. Really?
This is probably the worst secret code name for an undercover operation that I've ever heard. John Arbogast was a 55-year-old school teacher from Georgia. He was teaching students social studies at a middle school in Cobb County, but had a hideous secret obsession with indecent images of children. He had a baseball card shop, and obviously due to this and his day job, he worryingly had huge access to children on a daily basis. He was found to be online constantly trafficking child SA images and was involved in a huge P-ring. Now this caught the attention of the FBI, who created an undercover operation called Innocent Images. The operation spanned 2 years and started in 1993 after a 10-year-old boy vanished. This boy was George Bodinsky, and the undercover operation led to the arrest of 12 men across the world. But frustratingly, George's case remains unsolved.
What the
In September 1995, before he could be arrested, John closed his shop and went on the run. His case then appeared on an episode of Unsolved Mysteries in 1996. He was last seen in Las Vegas, Nevada, but luckily due to the broadcast, police received a tip. They were told he was working at a hotel in LA, and police were able to hunt him down and arrest him.
They captured him on the 11th of July 1997. He was frustratingly released from prison just 1 year later.
How?
This pastor is being accused of unaliving his own wife. This case is currently ongoing, but it's been so highly suggested, so this is what we know so far. On April 28th, Pastor John Paul Miller made the shocking announcement at the end of his church service that his wife, Micah, had unalived herself. He then asked everyone to leave quietly and not discuss his wife's death. Micah's family and friends do not believe this cause of death and have taken to social media with the hashtag Justice for Micah. John Paul also wrote Micah's obituary where he talked mostly about himself, not even Micah, who was the one that passed away.
Weird.
He also painted their marriage as like a perfect relationship, which is really odd considering that Micah filed for divorce and a restraining order against her husband only days before her passing. The weeks prior to Micah's passing, she was sharing on Facebook about abusive relationships and really just hinting that something wasn't right. A friend of Micah's has come out and confirmed that Micah told her that there was abuse in the marriage and also that church funds were being used for things not church related. And since more friends and family of Micah have come out with similar accounts. Also been some speculation that John Paul was having an affair, a years-long affair with this woman that he's been seen in the days before and the days after Micah's death. That woman's husband also passed away in a really suspicious way, but that's just online speculation for right now. The investigation is currently ongoing, so hopefully we have answers really, really soon. But in the meantime, make sure to leave all your thoughts, theories, questions, and case suggestions in the comments for me.
This 24-year-old.
She was saying about that case, man, the thoughts and theories. What do you guys think? Like I said, it was too sad. As I said, you can't believe everything in the media or what somebody portrays to be true. Because on a surface level, it looks like they had a perfect relationship, but behind the scenes, the wife, she had a completely different story. So you can't just take everything at first glance. You really got to dive deep into things like that. Crazy case.
A teacher was caught being inappropriate with her 5th grade student. This is 24-year-old Madison Bergman from Wisconsin. The 11-year-old boy's mother had heard him on a phone call with his 24-year-old teacher and took his phone away. She discovered text messages between the two, and Madison would text him stuff like, "I really wanted to make out with you today." These texts were then printed out and taken to the school. Authorities were notified and they immediately opened up an investigation.
Yes, they should.
The cops searched Madison's backpack and they had found a folder with the 11-year-old boy's name on it. Inside of that folder, they had found several handwritten letters. Written on these notes, Madison is telling the boy that she loves him, she wants to kiss him, he turns her on, and she is obsessed with him. The 11-year-old boy ends up talking to police, and he states that Madison would move his desk next to hers so that she could touch him without other students noticing. It was pretty often that Madison would make the boy stay behind during lunch, and a lot of the students thought he was always in trouble, but that was not the case. 11-year-old claimed that Madison had kissed him several times in that classroom, either after school or when everyone was at lunch. The 11-year-old's family had actually become friends with Madison, and they even went on a ski trip to a nearby resort. And that specific weekend is when Madison got the 11-year-old boy's number. Get this, Madison was actually engaged, but she will no longer be walking down that aisle. Madison has disabled her social media and is not allowed on school property or school events.
Good.
Madison is currently free on a $25,000 bond.
Gotta watch who you become friends with, man. She had an agenda. She just became friends so she could have access.
Here's some facts that are oddly comforting and make me feel less bad about the world. It is statistically proven that people see you 20% more attractive than you see yourself. Your pet probably dreams about you. Like, all the time. Partially because you're like the only person they have ever interacted with. Squirrels accidentally plant thousands of trees every single year just by forgetting where they put their nuts. A group of pugs is called a grumble. That is the cutest thing I've ever heard. In Switzerland, it's considered animal abuse to only own one guinea pig. You have to own 2. Guinea pigs get severely depressed when they're by themselves, so they need partners to be with. If you ever have a cat and they bring home a dead animal, it's because they think you suck at hunting. They want to make sure you're okay in eating and they don't see you hunting. So they're like, where is this guy getting any nutrition? The ozone layer, the thing that we've obliterated over the past century, it's slowly healing itself. We're not doing anything. It's fixing itself.
The funniest
true facts about short people.
I never even knew that, because we've been hearing a lot about, you know, the ozone layer, stuff like that, but to hear that it's actually healing itself, we probably gonna have to dive deeper into that one, see, because that's an interesting fact. You guys believe that?
Quickly, tag one of your shorter friends so they can see this video too. Now technically, being called short means you're between 5'3" and 5'7" inches tall. Now at this height, you can sometimes actually pass as a child, therefore getting cheaper prices. And you even get to ignore the caution low ceiling signs, which saves a lot of headaches. You sometimes even get to use tall people as human shields to protect from objects and even nature. And short people can probably fit over a month's worth of washing in one single load. Now the good news is, you will typically live longer according to research and studies. And being short actually means you have a reduced risk of getting cancer. And believe it or not, it's scientifically proven that information travels to your brain faster.
Really? To the short kings out there,
10
congratulations.
facts you didn't know that could save your life. If your house ever smells like fish for no reason, 9 times out of 10, it's because there's an electrical fire. If you're in a foreign country and you need to call for help, but you don't know the emergency number, call 112 and it'll automatically connect you to the nearest helpline. If a tornado looks like it's not moving, it's actually moving towards you. If you ever wake up to the smell of gas, don't turn on a light. The spark from the light switch could blow up your entire house. Lying flat on your back is the best way to survive a falling elevator. If your hair ever stands up, duck and cover because you're about to be struck by lightning. If you ever fall off the edge onto the tracks, don't try and crawl back up. There's a crawl space built to go underneath in case this happens. If a deer runs across the road, it's better to hit it than swerve into the ditch. But if it's a moose, then it's better to swerve into the ditch, because hitting a moose is like hitting a brick wall. Even if you have no service, you can still dial 911. In an emergency, your phone will connect to the nearest tower. If you ever get kidnapped into the back of a vehicle, disconnect the brake light wires so the cops will pull them over. Then kick on the door to let them know that you're there.
You need those facts. Write them down.
Facts that I wish I didn't know. When you die, the last thing to go is your hearing. So as all your other mortal sensations are leaving this world, the last thing you're ever going to experience are the sounds going on around you, which very well could be like your family members crying or cheering. By the year 2050, there's going to be more plastic in the ocean than fish. If pigs get a cold, like a cough, very often they will shoot their intestines out of their anus, and farmers have to, like, stuff it back in.
Oh man, that is disgusting. Never do that. Never. Tap in with us, man. Y'all gonna learn some things.
Interesting facts you never knew. The last one is shocking. When penguins can't find love, they waddle off to die alone. The movie theaters actually has cameras inside every theater. So just know, if you were getting freaky, Bob in your local theater probably saw you. You're nasty. Your true love is the first person you see when you click share, slide all the way down, and click more. You wake up before you die in your dreams because your mind can't comprehend death. Want to know what your day is going to be like tomorrow? Type tomorrow in the comment section and let your autocorrect finish the sentence for you. Tastes like your mama's booty. People actually see you 20% more attractive than you think you are. A cafe in Japan hires paralyzed people to control robot servers. This is so that they can still have income and make a living. Before we get to the last fact, can you support me by clicking the follow button for more interesting facts every day? Arnold Schwarzenegger said in many interviews that O.J. Simpson was always supposed to play the Terminator. The main reason he stopped being cast was because James Cameron didn't think he was believable as a killer.
Dirty facts about history that school probably didn't teach you. Part 20. Before she married Ronald, Nancy Reagan was known around Hollywood for her oral abilities, therefore making her a certified throat goat. Queen Victoria really loved doing the deed with her husband, Prince Albert. Like, really loved doing it. To the point where it was audible through doors and walls several times daily. After the Founding Fathers signed the Declaration of Independence, they went frat boy mode and racked up a pretty impressive bar tab. A bottle of whiskey, 2 bottles of wine, and 7 to 10 beers per Founding Father. George Washington in particular was known as the 3-bottle man, meaning he could drink 3 entire fifths of whiskey without blacking out. The guy who invented sea monkeys was a white supremacist, so if you ever bought this bullshit, you indirectly contributed to the Klan.
This is how rare your body.
Who got some sea monkeys when they were younger, man? The more you know. I mean, exposing us to new facts every day. Never in a million years would have guessed that.
Is compared to the rest of the world. Only 10% of the population have what is known as Morton's toe, making you extremely rare if you have this. This is where your second toe is longer than your big toe. What's even more rare is only 5% of people's tongues are tied. This is literally where your tongue is tied to the bottom of your mouth, impacting eating and speech. Only 1% of people have unbreakable bones. And if you have this, you are literally considered a superhuman. It's a mutation that makes your bones several times denser than the average human. Which means someone with this mutation could walk away from a fucking car crash completely fine. Only 10% of the population suffer from eczema. Most get it when they're a child. It's bullshit! Whereas others can get it further down the line. 50% of the population can fit their fists in their mouth. That's still pretty rare. If anyone can actually do this, please let me know. Can you tickle yourself? If so, then congratulations, you're a part of the rare 7% of the population who can actually do this. And finally, only 16% of people can make a roaring noise in their head, flexing a muscle in their jaw. Damn. Elon!
I'm gonna need y'all to tell me down below, man. Can y'all do any of those things that he just described? It's like your body can do more things than I ever would have even imagined. It's kind of crazy how like complex your body is, and the different things it can do, and how it can differ from different people. Insane.
Which of these facts is the hardest to believe? It is impossible to hum while holding your nose. If you want to know how your breath smells, lick your wrist and smell it. The word hello was actually invented because nobody knew how to start a telephone conversation. If you Google the phrase, do a barrel roll, the page will do a clockwise spin. Go to it, come back and let me know if it worked. Your eyes actually sees objects upside down. It is your brain that flips it back up. Your foot is exactly as long as the distance between your wrist and the crook of your elbow. Your phone knows your best friend. It is the second person that appears when you click share, and then more. There are 7 to 10 people on earth who look identical to you. Want more?
I think it has to be the second fact. Licking
Facts,
your
it
wrist
could
and
save
smelling
your life one day. If you're ever somewhere really high, like a mountain, and feel your hair standing up randomly, don't take any pictures and run as fast as you can to cover. You're about to get hit by a lightning strike. Just like these 2 teens that got hit moments after this picture was taken. If a stranger gets in your car with a weapon and asks you to drive them somewhere, most likely you will have your seatbelt on, but they won't. So drive fast enough into something like a lamppost. Not only will the accident cause a crowd, but it will also injure the stranger, giving you enough time to run away. And don't worry about your damaged car, your insurance will take care of it. And if you're at the beach and you suddenly see the ocean recede, don't think twice and get to high grounds. You're most likely gonna get hit by a tsunami. Better safe than sorry. And finally, if you ever see a bouncing ball on the road while driving, slow down safely and look around, because the ball is usually followed by a small child trying to get it back.
Okay, those facts. Another one, we gotta write those down. Always trying to learn some knowledge from these videos and trying to incorporate it in our everyday life.
That each other exist.
What, don't know they exist?
Sharks have no fucking clue that camels exist. And
oh boy, do I have a story for you. So like fun fact, actually mildly disturbing fact. Camels are one of those animals that have no business swimming but do it anyway, and they're unnecessarily good at it. And an animal whose home address is a desert being able to pull up on you in the ocean is one of the biggest you I do what I want moves from nature.
It really
There's
is.
a dromedary camel called karai that are so comfortable with water that they'll cross rivers and even shallow stretches of the ocean as they look for food. And that's because these overgrown water donkeys love eating mangroves on islands offshore, so much that they'll travel for hours to get it. There's actually a pretty good chance that at least one shark has seen one of these sand-loving hump jockeys out in the ocean. He told his friends. They did not believe it. Moral of this video. If you're ever on a boat off the coast of a country like Algeria, you better be prepared to say what's up to a camel.
This is why you should never spend the night on Niku Island. In 1937, while on her flight around the world, Amelia Earhart mysteriously vanished over Howland Island in the Pacific Ocean. Despite an enormous search, she was never found. 3 years after her disappearance, a scientist discovered an incomplete skeleton on this tiny, uninhabited island called Niku Island that wasn't too far from Howland Island. It looked like whoever's bones these were, they had been ripped limb from limb. But when the bones were examined, they determined they were not Amelia Earhart's.
But in 2017, a forensic anthropologist re-examined the bones and determined they were almost definitely Amelia's. So scientists went to Niku Island and they found freckle cream, something Amelia was famous for using. So the working theory is she crash-landed on Niku Island and she fell asleep somewhere on the beach. Then, after smelling her blood, hundreds of 3-foot-wide coconut crabs came out of their burrows, swarmed her, and ate her.
Damn. Coconut crabs ate a human being? What the hell? You see how they had to re-examine the bones? Because like I said, it's in the details. If it's something messes up the first time, just looking at it again. They confirmed it, man. That's really weird. Coconut crabs? Damn, I didn't even know he was capable of doing something like that. The more you know. The hell is
Unless
that?
you want your own Twitter hashtag, never do what he did. But trust me, you're going to want to favorite this video so you never end up in this situation. You, my friend, have just caught death itself. The giant hornet. This hornet will come after you in the morning, and by the evening it will own your house, your family, and even your mortgage. Why am I so concerned by this person's well-being? Well, let's start with the fact that these have photographic memories, and you caught it in a plastic see-through cup. You have the desire to beat your ancestors. Now, a sting from one of these is about as nasty as it looks, described as hot metal being poured into your body. And not only that, they can spray venom too. They don't just have to sting you. And before anyone thinks, no, this isn't a wasp without a couple protein shakes. I know what these hornets do for fun. They raid beehives. And they completely Thanos everything inside of that nest.
Damn.
They can fly up to 25 miles per hour. He can only run 27. To pray for him in the comments. Yoey!
Those are some different type of hornets, man.
This is why you should never stay in sketchy motels. In 2005, a young woman on a solo road trip across the country decided to stop for the night. The first place she sees is the Mountaintop Motel. It looked pretty cheap, but she was tired, so she said good enough. The check-in guy eyed her up and down very uncomfortably and then asked her if she was traveling alone. She ignores the question, pays for her room, and then walks away with the key. When she gets inside her room and sees there are literally cockroaches in her bed, she says nope and decides to sleep in her car in the parking lot. Around 3 a.m., she wakes up to see the check-in guy using his own keys to get into the motel room she was supposed to be in. A few minutes later, he storms out and slams the door and starts walking towards her car. Terrified, she hides under her blanket as the man tries to open her car doors but can't and walks away. She speeds off and calls her friend and asks her to look up the address of Mountaintop Motel so she can give it to police. Her friend's quiet for a second and then just says, the Mountaintop Motel closed a week ago.
What the So where was she at? Or was that like a scary story or something? Damn, motels ain't it. Always go to a hotel. It ain't worth it. And a hotel in Bali? Look at those prices. Damn. All those reservations? What the hell happened? Why is it got abandoned? In Bali too? Something had to go down that we don't know about. Looks like they left in a hurry. All the snacks are still on the table. Wind powered? Very creepy.
Psychology tricks that I know work.
Hey.
Blood-curdling facts that you wish you never knew. Kayla Posey, who you might recognize from this gif from the show Toddlers and Tiaras, went to to her prom this past weekend and took her own life just a few hours later. The dinosaurs in Jurassic Park were not animated. Most of them were just actors in costumes. This photo shows Ismail Hadi, a homeless man from Yemen known for feeding stray dogs. One morning he was found dead, with the dogs refusing to leave his side. A new device in South Africa called Rapex resembles a tube with barbs inside that is inserted like a tampon to prevent sexual assault. Any man who attempts an unconsentful act will be impaled by its teeth and sent to the ER. This 7-year-old girl is the only person in the world with diagnosed chromosome 6 deletion, meaning that she doesn't feel pain, hunger, or the need to sleep. In 2016, she was hit by a car, dragged nearly 100 feet, and felt absolutely nothing.
How is something like that even possible, man? It's because of her chromosomes? Could you imagine if everybody had that? Nobody would feel pain, the need to sleep. Kind of be like invincible. It's crazy to think about. Do you guys want that?
A YouTuber broke into the Bohemian Grove 2 weeks ago and captured everything in HD. This video is like the first of its kind I've ever seen. He got a ton of footage, but let me show you what he got of the owl.
Mine. And that's the owl statue. Holy fuck. Dude, I'm actually here. This is insane. No way. Bohemian Grove. I made it. Yeah. This is the owl statue. What the fuck? No way. This is fucking cool. Oh, that's hollow. They need to fill this pond up. They do.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the owl. A bunch of ferns have grown on it.
Yeah, that's like the power station.
Now that is absolutely insane. For those of you that don't know, the Bohemian Grove is speculated to be some kind of conspiracy theory of where the elite go to sacrifice people. They hold their weird rituals there, and that's how they stay in power. The real definition is that it is an invite-only elite club. Only the biggest names in the world can come here. Nobody really knows what's going on in there. They just kind of light an owl and go there. Seeing all this stuff up close and everything is absolutely insane. The fact that the owl is hollow blew my mind. Seeing everything overgrown and abandoned makes me think they moved to another location for their elite invite-only club. Probably somewhere underground at this point, to be honest, so it's away from the public eye. The person that filmed this on YouTube is Dancer1. Definitely go check out his video. It's half an hour long and it is amazing. He really snuck in there with a kayak and a cast iron skillet paddling.
Damn.
The dude is built different. Let me know what you guys think about the Bohemian Grove. Maybe something weird is going on there. Some kind of sacrifice. Who knows?
See other YouTubers, I think, go there too. That's actually insane. Bohemian Grove. And like I said, it definitely looked abandoned. They, like I said, going off his prediction, they probably, like I said, moved it to a different place because it got, I guess, too known to the public. They wanted to switch it up. YouTube, that's it, man, for this video for you guys today. If you guys stay with me to the end of the video, you're a true seeker seeking the truth. Really appreciate that support, man. Like I said, guys, make sure you guys hit that like button, subscribe, hit that post notification bell, man, so we can grow our community together. I really appreciate the support you guys have been showing in these past couple of videos. I know, man, we could grow our community into something special. That's why I do daily uploads for you guys. You guys can catch in the next one, man. I'm out. Peace, YouTube.